In my address today, as I said, I would like to dwell upon the following theme. It is time for banks to look deeply within, and the focus will be on reorienting banking post-COVID. Just like boosting immunity of the population is the key to tackle the pandemic, the key to long-term financial stability would be to foster tangible improvement in the inherent ability of the banks to withstand exogenous shocks like the current pandemic. As I have stated elsewhere, the causes of weak banks can usually be traced to one or more of the following conditions: an inappropriate business model given the business environment, quality or lack of governance and decision making, misalignment of internal incentive structures with external stakeholder interests or shareholder interests, and similar other factors. Accordingly, the core of resilient banks is made up of good governance, effective risk management, and robust internal controls. And I'm quite, I'm quite pleased to state that the overall, the Indian banking sector continues to be sound, continues to be stable. I'm highlighting these points because these are the areas which need greater attention. I'm highlighting these points not because they are absent or anything like that. I'm highlighting on these points because they need greater attention, and as everyone would agree, there is always a room for improvement. In recent years, the business landscape of banks has undergone significant change. Today, the banks need to look out for sunrise sectors while supporting those sectors which have the potential to bounce back. For instance, banks need to look at prospective business opportunities in the rural sector which remain unexplored despite efforts to support it. Banks also need to look at the area of startups, renewables, logistics, value chains, and other such potential areas. I have just listed a few, but there are several others. The banking sector has a responsible role to play, not only as a facilitator of growth of the economy, but also to earn its own bread. Thus, a complete relook at the business strategy and orientation is the need of the hour. Scale ignites the volume effect in business turnover, but that presupposes bigger size of banks. Despite several reforms in the banking sector since its nationalization, a lot more can be done and needs to be done. With change in time, the nature of reforms needs to be reconfigured. The current steps towards consolidation of public sector banks in line with the Narasimham Committee recommendations is a step in the right direction. Indian banks this way can reap the benefits of scale and become partners in the newer business opportunities across the globe. Larger and more efficient banks, both in public and private sector, can compete shoulder to shoulder with global banks to get a decent space in the global value chain. Size is essential, but efficiency is even more important. Efficiency, however, is much broader concept and requires several other factors to evolve and act along its side. The prerequisite will be to use technology. The quality and ingenuity of technology should match our aspirations of acquiring scale and diversion of business across the globe. The focus of use of technology should shift from transactions-based to business-oriented. While introspecting on newer ideas to improve the health of banks and quality of banking, it is fundamental to reform the culture of governance and risk management. These two areas lend inherent strength to businesses of banking, and a good amount of work has already been done in this direction. While it is natural that capital providers or investors would like to remain alive to the aspects of how exactly a bank is run, it is worthwhile to allow sufficient leeway to the management of the bank and to the board of the bank to run the affairs of a bank in a professional and autonomous fashion. A decent distance between the owner and the professionally sound management and the board would promote robustness of banking institutions. And this is a point which has been spoken about earlier. So I think I thought, let me just highlight and touch upon this area. But This is an area which is constantly under discussion. There will be newer risks with newer business models for banks, especially in the context of COVID and going forward. More so when the banks get bigger and more connected across diverse jurisdictions. High growth by virtue of newer business models can be achieved with clear understanding of one's own strengths and weaknesses. Remaining overly risk averse may seem to be a measure of self-immunization, but will be self-defeating as it would affect the bottom lines of the banks adversely. Risk propensity should be aligned with individual banks' measured risk appetite. The risk management systems should be sophisticated enough to smell vulnerabilities brewing within the various businesses and well in advance, and should be dynamic enough to capture the looming risks in sync with changes in external environment. One visible area of concern in the arena of risk management is the inability or the ability to manage the incidence of frauds, both cyber-related and otherwise. The higher incidence of frauds which have come to light in the recent times have their origins in not so efficient risk management capacity of the concerned banks, both at the time of sanctioning of loans as well as in post-sanction credit monitoring. And there are considerable room for improvement in these areas. An effective early warning system and forward-looking stress testing framework should also be an integral part of risk management framework of the banks. Banks should be able to pick up incipient signals of stress faced by their borrowers and take proactive remedial action within the resolution framework established or set up by the RBI, announced by the RBI last year on 7th June. And the rearranging of the loans or the credit facilities which have been given to the borrowers when there are incipient signs of stress, if it is done in a timely manner, naturally it will contribute to preservation of asset value of the borrower. In addition to strong risk culture, banks also should have appropriate compliance culture. There should be robust assurance mechanism by way of internal audit function. This is an integral part of sound corporate governance, and the banks also should highlight on the quality of customer service and redress of customer grievances. Going ahead, financial institutions in India have to walk a tightrope of nurturing the recovery within the overarching objective of preserving long-term stability of the financial system. The current pandemic-related shock is likely to place greater pressure on the balance sheets of banks, leading to erosion of their capital. The current pandemic-related shock is likely to place greater pressure on the balance sheets of the bank, as I said, leading to some amount of erosion of capital. Proactive building of buffers and raising capital will be crucial, not only to ensure credit flow, but also to build resilience in the financial system. And it includes resilience of individual banks and financial entities, as well as resilience of the financial sector as a whole. We have already advised, that is RBI has already advised the banks, and including the banks and also the large NBFCs as well as the deposit-taking NBFCs, to assess impact of COVID-19 on their balance sheet, asset quality, liquidity, profitability, and capital adequacy. Based on the outcome of such stress testing, banks and NBFCs should work out possible mitigation measures, including capital planning, capital raising, and contingency liquidity planning, among others. Upfront capital infusion would also improve the sentiment of investors and other stakeholders alike for the sector to continue remaining attractive for investors, both domestic and foreign, over the medium to long term. Some of the banks have already either raised or announced capital raising. This process needs to be carried forward vigorously by banks and NBFCs, both in the public and private sector.